Now let's welcome Mr. Pradnesh Chodankar, Senior Vice President and Country Head Procurement, DBS Bank India Ltd. Now let's welcome Mr. Milind Prabhakar Gadre, Head Procurement, Hüttenes-Albertus. I can't hear you. Okay, let me be clear on this. You know, this goes without saying. Whenever you see any speaker or anybody coming on stage, when you see me welcoming them, please, please welcome them with a warm round of applause. That'll be good, yeah? Okay. Now let's welcome Ms. Pallavi Chaudhuri, Director Procurement Perfetti, Brand Melle. So for us, it's very hard to, call all our speakers. They all are really busy. So it's really our honor to have them all here. So when they come here, so that's what I'm saying. Please, please do clap. Okay, now let's welcome Ms. Ruchita Mishra, Director Procurement, Sodexo. And last but not the least, Mr. Mahendran Pitchai, Head Purchase Industrial, Lactalis. Just I would want to tell all us panelists here that please speak a little bit louder. You know, you have the lapel in here so that everybody could hear clearly. Okay. All right. I'm giving it over to a moderator.
Okay.
Ravindra sir, over to you.
So I'm audible? Yes. Yeah, great. So we are here today for the panel discussion, particularly on the subjects like intelligent workflows, the purchase workflows, data management, analytics, data analytics. How do you convert data into information which helps you taking decisions in purchase, so on and so forth. So today we have the panelists from various backgrounds, right from chemical manufacturing industry to consumer goods to IT procurement, talent management procurement, and even banks also. So without further ado, I'll start the panel discussions. So my first question to Sachin, what are the challenges in IT sourcing and how the digital workflows helps overcoming them?
Yeah, thanks Ravindra for this question. I mean, this question must be very close to heart, the fraternity that's sitting here. I mean, the panelists also will agree to this. There are a lot of challenges in technology procurement. I will not term it as IT procurement, but technology procurement. And when it comes to the procurement in manufacturing sector, the challenges become multifold. Let's say the first challenge, if you have presence across multiple countries and you are driving the sourcing centrally sitting out of India or maybe a particular country, then having a standard process rolled out across the globe is a challenge. There are different customers sitting in different countries having different processes and expectation of delivery are different. So there has to be a central process which has very minimal non-value added workflows, eliminated workflows, and digitization is the must, is the key for that. So another challenge is you have, I mean, multiple customers come with the expectations like the requirement has to be delivered as of yesterday or as of today, right? And there are multiple compliances that you need to undergo. While having the technology procurement, you need to undergo the technical evaluation with the security checks, GRC, and GDPR compliance, and so on. So all these challenges become multifold when you don't have the right workflow. Just to address, I will take example of UPL. So we have operations around 130 countries, and every continent has the major procurement. So to address all these challenges, what we did is although we have Evolva and SAPs of the world are well established for the raw material procurement, the technology procurement decision making is always evolving. So you need a specific tool or maybe the workflow, digital workflow, which cater to the request and fast turnaround of the request. So what we did was we applied the design thinking principle to address all these needs and the customer challenges, right? So design thinking is empathy and put yourself into customer shoes and understand the challenges, and then co-creation along with the customer. So having this design thinking principle, we understood that there has to be a simple workflow, and adoption of that particular workflow has to be very fast and across all the organization. So we built a workflow on ServiceNow, which is a very well ITSM tool, a very well known ITSM tool, and it is already implemented in UPL almost 3 years. So everybody knows how to use that. So we use that particular workflow to create the digital workflow for sourcing. So right from scratch, we written the policy and then implemented. While writing the policy, we ensured that the non-value added workflows are eliminated and address the need of the customer with the quicker turnaround times. So after implementation of this particular workflow, we understood the benefit of that, and now we are going for the backward digitization, backward integration, right from the budgeting and planning. We are doing the workflow on different technologies.
Okay, okay, yeah. Great, Sachin. So that brings us from processes to data management, immediate responses, and everything. So my next question will be to Pradnesh. How you are, of course, from FMCG, pharmaceutical industry, you have various experiences. So, and now he's working with the bank. So I would say, how does the technology helps in the processes like production planning or servicing to the customers, and how does it help in enhancing the overall productivity?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Ravindra. Data and technology go hand in hand as far as production planning is concerned, and in a manufacturing setup, in an FMCG, I think so stock is something which is a lifeblood, of supply chain and sales. I'll give a classic example of winter planning. So it has to be a combination of data when you do a production planning along with the predictive analytics. How do you predict winter? It's one of the most difficult thing to do, to predict winter. When you actually manufacturing cold creams or winter, body lotions, winter body lotions, you are in two mindsets, whether if you produce more and if winter gets delayed, your stock will be write off. At the same point of time, if you produce less and winter prolongs, there is a sale loss. So the tools like predictive analytics helps you to understand where the season will start, when the season will end. Data will help you in understanding what was the demand, supply metrics across various geographies, which geography the sale is getting spiked at what time. So it helps the entire end-to-end supply chain when you use the tools like predictive analytics and data analytics. Thanks.
Okay, great. So you talked about predictive analysis, data analytics. So this straight away asks for the changes in your existing procurement related processes. So my next question goes to Pallavi. What can you do to really enhance the customer experience with these changes in the procurement related processes?
Hello. Hi, thanks Ravindra for the question. So let me take the piece from what just Pradnesh said. So you did the SNOP, you got the volumes. I think then the next thing is to give the information to the business, how will it impact the bottom line. So I think it's important for procurement to have a very well-aligned understanding with finance globally on how commodity price movements, so predictive analytics on the price side, can impact in the near future. In long-term future is very difficult in today's times, in the times of volatility, but you need to give an information at a very timely manner to the businesses on how they need to modify their marketing spend, change their production planning and all of that. So that's critical. Even when we look at procurement costs, we are looking at constant value engineering, cost reduction, and none of these projects can be done in isolation. So for all the go-to-market activities, supplier engagements, we need to have a very well-aligned process along with R&D, along with if there's a sustainability team in the organization and the technical teams. So we need to have, we speak about it within Perfetti as a one project list. That one project list is the North Star for the entire organization. So there are no multiple, list of projects being executed, and we all aim for those cost reduction projects, which can really lead to the profitability of the organization. So that's one part of it. Now, I'll just maybe touch upon a few other aspects. Even things like once you move into operational procurement, it's important to have well-aligned process, again, globally on how you measure quality. I've seen cases, like you said, 130 countries, we see 40 countries, where even the measurement of quality metrics is not aligned. So when you have a global vendor and you go and speak with the vendor gets different feedbacks for the same level of performance, which is very, very conflicting for the vendor. It's difficult to have a SRM meeting, because the person doesn't understand on the other side of the table. So whether it is cost, optimization, whether it is quality, whether it's delivery, or even initiatives of sustainability, every process, every project has to be aligned across departments, across the organization. So that's how I would put it, yeah.
Okay. So it is not only the procurement process, but although the related processes are also important. So my next question will go to Ruchita. Sometimes this coordination between the departments and everything becomes little hazy sometimes. And the problem is the consistency, like Pallavi said. If there is a consistency, then from the suppliers to customers, everybody is aligned. But if there is inconsistently processes happening within the organization, then for the key stakeholders, there is a bit of a challenge. So how do you decide on a right metric for having all these processes bound together?
Okay. I think, Ravindra, as a procurement and supply chain leader, we cannot live without metric. We are being judged at every instance on what we are able to give back to the organization. So even on a digital journey, I think metric is very, very important, how overall success, and needs to be very, very clear that our metric as procurement department is very, very different from what finance is looking for and what is overall critical for your journey on whatever platform and you're implementing. And I'm not talking about regular metrics, which is very critical and dear to us: cost saving, efficiency, vendor rationalization. I think something which is very specific to digital journey is to measure your procurement cycle. So why you implemented the system and your core area has been solved or not. So whether there is a reduction in TAT and all those things, whether you're able to achieve that efficiency for the system. Your vendor onboarding time could be another, is one of the critical thing. If you have a classic systems and you're not able to bring vendor on board, I think it's of no use, so you have to look into it. So these are two critical things which I could think of. I think the third one is very, very critical, which is user adoption. Again, referring to what Sachin talked about. Classic system, you have implemented something which is best practices, but if it is not mapped with your current workflows and user are facing challenge, for some reason they are not able to adopt to this new system, then it's a journey fail. And last, which is very critical, I feel, Ravindra, and very, very dear to our CFOs, is return of investment. You do everything, but if you are not able to justify internally that in this many years you will be able to justify the cost of whatever you are bringing, I think at every stage within the organization you will be challenged, and this adoptions become more and more difficult. So these are few of the metrics, Ravindra, which I feel is very critical for any digital journey.
Sure. So right from the internal approvals to ROI, moving on to the customer experience. So my next question goes to Mahendran. How does the digitization helps in extending what we do to give the customer satisfaction in terms of, you can say, sampling, testing, approvals? There are so many stages before bringing a new customer into the business. So how does the digitization helps? How does that visibility helps in smoothening the process?
Thank you for your question. Let us take from my own experience. I was coming from manufacturing industry. Previously working with Renault Nissan, and we are having multiple customers in procurement. We are dealing with research and development, marketing, media, and then manufacturing, and then internal testing department, everybody. So the quantum of purchase order we are issuing is more than 12,000. So this kind of quantum of purchase order, if you don't do digitalization, we don't know which customer required urgently, which customer require normal proceeding, we don't know. So what we done is that we done everything into digitalization. We took a project and we converted all this manual processing into digital, from the start of request from user team to the purchase order to the supplier. We converted everything into digitalization. Then we identified each department, each customer, what is the requirement. For example, R&D will always comes with a single supplier. They will say that I need to go with this supplier because it's a confidential. I cannot float RFQ to the open market. So the process is totally different. When I go to production, it is a normal process. We need to purchase with the 3 quotation, we do the standard negotiation, all these things. So we asked our internal team to do the big data analysis on this, and for each customer, we specifically define what process we follow. For R&D, we will go with single supplier with certain process and approvals, and other we will go with a standard process, all these things. So digitalization will help you to identify the correct process for each customer. That will give you the good understanding of customer requirement, and it will improve the customer satisfaction as well as the compliance in internal working procurement.
Okay, great. So what I understand is customer satisfaction is, of course, for every business, customer satisfaction is most important. But you talked about single vendor, R&D, putting up single vendor and so on. So Milind being in the manufacturing sector and handling procurement for quite some time, I would say, can you share your experience in terms of how the innovations from the partners or the suppliers help us building our business so that the ultimate customer satisfaction, be it internal or external, how does it improve?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Actually, I am from a chemical background, and I work with the chemical industry. Those are batch process or the continuous process own industries. So basically, as a part of procurement, we have worked closely with the engineering and technical team, especially to improve the overall yield and efficiency into the system, right? We have so many unit operations in the chemical industry, right from utilities, right from the, very different kind of distillation columns, pumps, and different electrical instrumentation parts are involved. So basically, the technology point of view, we have worked with all major like companies like Honeywell, Yokogawa, and upgraded our system, like with respect to AI/ML also. Some critical pumps which are having continuous operations, which are feeding to major equipments like columns, reactors and all. So we engage those pumps into all this technology, so that all this vibration monitoring system and everything will get properly monitored, and proactively the alerts will come to the end user or the engineering team, so as to take care of all the preventive or the kind of proactive approach in terms of maintenance. Then on utilities also, we have done a lot of integration with all these suppliers to upgrade the system. Like we have worked with Thermax, we have worked with the Atlas Copco and all. So that overall losses into the system with respect to maybe air losses or water losses or all. So those can be monitored and plug into so that the improvement in the efficiency can happen. And ultimately related to chemical industries are more or less towards more or less known for pollution or some kind of hazards associated. So we have a lot of stacks also which are do the air emission, and we have ETP which does the overall treatment to the water and all. So there also we have done a lot of digitalization in terms of monitoring the overall emission losses. We work with companies like Emerson and ABB, where all the emissions can be monitored, that all the parameters get monitored through CPCB or MPCB server. And the team can take the proactive action to reduce the emissions so that the society which is around the industry will be user friendly kind of thing, because that is very important in terms of reliability and sustainability. So on operation parts, we have taken a lot of efforts which ultimately resulted into good kind of yield and improvement in the manufacturing process, and ultimately serving to the customer in terms of availability of the stock at the warehouse at given point of time. So this role we have initiated as far as the technology is concerned or the innovations are concerned with respect to manufacturing operations.
Okay, great. So for few years back, we were all talking about preventive maintenance to avoid breakdowns and shutdowns and so on. Now I am hearing the term predictive maintenance, and that too with the tools like vibration analysis. So these are something which really helping us. The digital tools are helping us going forward. So I'll come back to Pradnesh. Can you explain how the technology tools and the artificial intelligence, is it really going to replace the manpower, or is it something which is like?
Yeah. So I think so. This is a common fear. I think so. Everybody in the room has the fear whether AI will take away our jobs. Yeah, isn't it? I think everybody. But I think so. AI is, again, it's an artificial intelligence. Okay, there's something called as real intelligence, which is a human intelligence. It is factored by creativity, and any point of time, your creative efforts, your human intelligence can never be replaced by a tool like AI. But yes, it is something which will help you to increase your efficiency, enhance your efficiency, increase the productivity, how you predict, how you actually read the data. Yeah. So those are the things which are very much important. It is very much important for professionals like us to upskill ourselves and live with the times. I still remember, when computers were launched, I came from the era where there was, manual processing and, those kind of stuff. We had Lotus 1, 2, 3, then it came Excel. So what will happen, or what those, those fears were always there. I think so nothing happened. Only thing what has happened is it has helped us to increase our productivity, enhance our productivity, deep dive and remove the areas which were actually manual and create more value in what we are currently doing. So today there are various tools. If you look into the cosmetic industry, so actually when you apply MAP, how will you look at? I mean, what kind of shades will help you to look how? These are the things before even buying that particular product. So the decision making via technology has helped us in many ways, saying that, and the decision for the consumer has become very well. In supply chain, we talk about on time in full. Yeah. So which is like, every single SKU has to be available at the shelves at any given point of time. And this complex methodology, and when we're talking about, organizations where they got some 35 brands, they got 5,000 SKUs, manually actually it is impossible unless you have right tools and technology to support that. It is very much, it becomes extremely complex supply chain to reach a country like India which is around 30 million plus in terms of in terms of square feet. Yeah, various geographies. We're talking about so many states, so many districts. So it becomes very, very complex to manage the requirements, and therefore these tools will complement us. It's important for procurement professionals like us that we accept it, learn it, develop ourselves, and make the best use of this technology to create that efficiency. Thanks.
I remember the days, maybe 91, 92, when I was also using, I started my career by using Lotus and then shifted on to Microsoft. And this journey is never ending. I mean, the digital progress is happening so fast that what you are doing today may be useless in 4 years down the line. So it is very important to keep yourself abreast with the technology. The new things are happening. So you talked about data converting into information. So my next question is to Ruchita. Data is available from different sources, different softwares. If the production data is available, it is from the DCS or the warehouse data, the purchasing data, so on and so forth. Many a times, organizations are not working on a single ERP system. They have the distributed different ERP solutions or the different softwares. So how do you manage this data from the different source, and what are the challenges in converting this data into information for taking informative decisions?
Okay. So Ravindra, you exactly quoted what is the current struggle. So I belong to a food pioneer organization, Sodexo, and building up recipe masters, etc., is one of the challenge of existing ERP. So having a multiple, and we all know if we have multiple system to integrate so that information flows from one to other, is an expensive yet a very difficult task. So it requires a lot of time and effort, plus the kind of data which may be lost and the accuracy which you may have. Plus, will you get that approval internally within the organization to integrate so much of system is a struggle. So that's where your lot of digital MIS tools comes into picture, where you extract this information and you can plug and play, and gives you a more better data accuracy in terms of so we talked about maverick spend, Ravindra. There's still, so there are multiple sources of information, multiple ERP is one thing, you can have MIS, but there are a lot of spend which is outside your ERPs. Could be maverick spend. Most of us use right now vendor catalogs, so a lot of your spend lies over there. So unless and until you integrate that in some way, at least at the MIS level, it will not give a complete visibility of your spend. And once you don't have a visibility, you may be actually catering your 70% of the spend and having a blind eye on 30% of the spend, which is lying elsewhere, and not being able to negotiate that. And how it will impact your day-to-day thing. So one, you don't have an updated MIS. You are not reporting right numbers to the leadership. You will not be then effectively be able to work with the organization strategy. Second, if you don't have a visibility, you will not be in a position to negotiate well with the vendors also, right? There is a spend which is lying elsewhere, hidden, and is not giving that informed decisions while you are on the table with the vendor and negotiating that. So I think these aspects are very, very critical, specifically when you have, so I can think of one example over here. So Ravindra, I was working with an organization which has multiple plants. And all of them were using different instances, and we call it profit code, etc., within ERP. Now, this bottle in front of us, so one plant was calling it bottle, the second plant was calling it a different item code, sipper, someone was calling it glass jar. Now, unless and until only when you do a spend analysis, you will understand that the glass bottle is equivalent, and a very layman example, but if we go through our spend, we'll find that we have so many item code, material code, which does not give you that informed spend analysis observation that you know which category to target, which are your core spend. Another instance which I could think of is, so again, one of my past organization, I'll not name it. When we did a spend analysis, Ravindra, we found miscellaneous spend to be of 800 CR. Now your miscellaneous can be 10%, 15%, 20%. The moment you do your category plotting and your miscellaneous is the one of the highest category bar, something is wrong. You're putting everything is, so we have this habit that material code, item code not available, let's put it in miscellaneous. But when you have such a big treasure below this umbrella of miscellaneous, you're leaving that spend attended. We normally never negotiate. We feel it's a travel, event, small thing. But all this will not cause it 800 CR. So something is definitely wrong. And hence this spend analysis and combining this spend and doing this detail activity at least once a year helps organization big way. And you have better visibility and accuracy of the data. Better the accuracy, better will be the reporting, better will be your procurement strategy for the year, and you can take much more informed decision. And it will lead to definitely a better cost saving because you are having a better negotiation with the vendor. That's it.
Great. So converting data into information, bringing all data together. I mean, I remember those days when a single material code in SAP, for one material, there were 2, 3, 4 codes, and they were based on either plant or the SBUs. So it is with the, at least I know for SAP or Oracle, all these things can be pulled into a single material code and things can be done faster. And when you go into the reporting of the data, it becomes very easy. So with that, now I'll come to Samarth. He is, of course, from EY, so maybe a consulting background, and you know that when we talk about digitization, the first response from the management is, let's appoint a consultant and go ahead. So, Samarth, tell me, how do you create a digitization strategy?
Thanks, Ravindra. Can you guys hear me? Hello, hello. First of all, good day, everyone, and really nice to see a big crowd here. Procurement itself is a very dry topic, so I'm really surprised with so many curious faces around. So thank you for your collaboration and cooperation. And I did quickly check with my fellow colleagues here on the digital penetration in every industry, because we are coming from so many industries here. And the first answer I hear is any new product is a very tough game to get into the organization. Right? Because like one of my colleagues here mentioned, fellow professionals, that you need to do a lot of checkpoints, there are a lot of compliances that has to go through, and there needs to be a blueprint, right? And that's where your consultants come into picture, and to prepare the blueprint, because we forget the human experience, right? Digitization is always there, and we forget the human touch that really requires to start the wind spinning, to start the wheel spinning, sorry. Right, so I can give you a quick example from the recent experience that we had. Within our organizations, we have so many tools and technologies, and we still look out for new things outside in the market, forgetting the ample amount of resources that already are in-house, which are already gone through the due diligence. Right, so in the recent example, we built a intake experience using Microsoft Forms, which is very basic. So the automation started from that very moment, because when a user or a stakeholder enters a particular acquisition to be purchased, this tool is very basic, and it can actually do routing of requests. And it can immediately route someone buying a training, for example, into a preferred supplier list. So that's the basic automation you have, right? I think the blueprint starts there, instead of us thinking very, all these buzzwords. We have autonomous procurement, we have data lakes, we have chat GPT, whatnot, right? I think the core starts of the design with the process mapping. What do we currently have, and what are the repetitive tasks? So we do in EY something called as whiteboarding. So we take a very plain whiteboard, and then we start putting things which I do on a weekly basis, at least thrice or twice, which I think as a colleague or a procurement professional can be automated. Right? It starts at that very basic level of planning, of mapping your data elements, And then at that stage, maybe bring in a consultant, right? When you have your basics, all foundational level data ready. So I think data mapping is very important when you plan digitization. We need to consider the human experience and where exactly the things can be automated, because not everything can be automated, at least to my knowledge. Thank you.
Great. So in the digitization strategy, I myself came across first in the year 2004-05 when the SAP implementation was going on, and the first thing I heard is as is and to be. So that's a very common terminology used. And then I would come to Milind. What are the principles of digitization?
So with respect to industry, those principles could be, vary. Maybe it may be from 5 to 10 or maybe 15 also. It depends on industry to industry. Maybe manufacturing will have some kind of principles or elements that could be, not appropriate for FMCG company and all. But if you see on broader way or as a kind of policy, the main I would touch upon, like, the initiation or the starting point should be very clear, so that what we are going to achieve through this digitalization is important. What will be our outcome has to be known to everyone with respect to the timelines, roles and responsibilities. And it should be more of towards the policy, not a person driven, because this entire process may take a year or maybe 2 years, and a lot of people may come in, go out, and that should not affect your overall digitalization project. So understanding the scope and timelines is very crucial in overall as a guiding principle towards digitalization, I would say. And second thing would be approaching or selecting the right people for the right role, because so many links are interconnected with respect to supply chain. If you say overall digitalization of the supply chain or manufacturing, it could be connected to R&D, it could be connected to warehouse, it could be related to transportation. So selecting the right person who will have the proper understanding of other side of the business or other side of the department is also very important, because that will drive the entire process. Otherwise, the understanding the need will take too much of time, the conflict will be unnecessary will be there. So selecting the right team with the right resources and with the right approach is also one of the guiding principle, I would say, apart from industry to industry. But these are the top two, I would say. I will rate that these are the top two which every industry should touch upon. And third would be the working towards objective. Maybe manufacturing will have different objectives, sales will have different objective. So all synchronization or collaborative way of working towards these objectives is also important, so that we'll meet the timelines. Otherwise, everyone will work in silo and the project will go in different directions. So proper leadership, then regular meetings or regular follow-up of those projects with the right people and all is also important, I would say.
Okay, great. So coming back to Samarth, I just drifted a bit for manufacturing industry. So he talked about the principles. So could you explain what are the areas that are important for digitization?
Purely from a procurement perspective, there are multiple areas that we can look into, but when predominantly we look at the tail spend. So that is the major choking area for procurement professionals, especially when we talk about strategic sourcing. Hey, where is your tail spend? And it is already growing by day. And we can't stop vendors getting added at that tail spend level. I think that is a very beautiful spot and a sweet spot for automating, because it is more tactical, it is more transactional, and it will have very less value add from overall business perspective, even though there may be a lot of vendors sitting in that area who can be strategic as well. So if you ask me, that is the easiest target from getting a digital enablement system into procurement. And I can give you a quick business case where we did the bunch of tail spend within the industries of similar sorts of EY is quite large. And to manage them is a big challenge, because we need to put efforts as a sourcing manager myself. I need to go check who are these vendors and what are they exactly delivering us, what is the value, right? So we came up with a concept called a smart buy. So we deployed people first to see and manage these transactions, right? And then to learn the process, like how are these transactions being managed? Are they being looked at every transaction level, or are there tasks that can be automated? Can there be learning from these human-driven process firstly? And we came up with a lot of learnings which can easily be then automated, right? So because they were doing some tactical buying, which maybe in this world I can put a chat AI to go back to my supplier, get 3 quotes who are already in my enlisted vendor instead of getting a new vendor on board, right? So overall, I think that is a bit of success. Of course, we can also do top-end automation as well. But to start with the journey, I think tail spend will be an area of loose focus typically in any organization, because we tend to ignore that and we say that, "Theek hai rahega, we'll take care of it." But I think that will be a key focus going forward as well, because we are looking at more consolidation and more autonomous procurement, like I mentioned, actually is one of the data-driven procurement tools which work especially managing starting from tail spend and coming up to the top end of the spend.
Okay. So about the principles and areas for digitization, let us hear from anybody else wants to speak on any of these areas.
Yeah, so I would like to build upon his point. So tail end is always unattended from the spend analysis perspective. So there are a lot of platforms available in the market which address your tail end spend and that easily integrate into your existing ERPs. So what you can do is, for example, let's say in IT procurement, you have the accessories kind of spend, right? Mouse, keypads, and monitors and everything. So there are platforms available in the market who does this complete activity, end-to-end activity, calling for the quotations and provide the complete compliance to your process, procurement process as well. And you get only one particular vendor onboarded in your system. So all the consolidation of vendors are done and you have one-stop shop for these maybe 80-20 principle, 20% of the spend, tail end spend can be managed through this kind of, because management is not going to give additional manpower to manage these kind of spends. So it's a tactical decision that we need to take. We can integrate these kind of platforms for your addressing your tail end spends.
Ravindra, this is one of the area which I can talk about is the transformation which we did. Because as I said that, I represent DBS Bank. We are basically 30 branch organization. One of the biggest branch, in fact, it's the biggest bank in Singapore. However, in India, we were like 30 branches till the time we took over, Lakshmi Vilas Bank. And actually, it was penetrated across various locations, okay, managing those 500 branches. To manage those tail end spends, which even Samarth and talked about is the computer accessories. What we did is create catalogs. So we have Coupa in place. What we did is ease of, so what we talk about is simplification of processes, ease of business, a customer satisfaction, which is an internal customer satisfaction, customer delight. So any point of time, I should have a toner which is ready in a remote town of Tamil Nadu or Haryana for that reason. Okay, so we created that catalog. The rates were negotiated annually, and what we did is at the click of button, the person can just select. Even same for the stationery. We had we had all the rates negotiated. The employee has just have to because from HR data which department code it goes to. Yeah, so we just have to click. The debit goes to his department, and he gets the goods within 24 to 48 hours. So that's the cataloging process what we implemented, and it has actually helped us in customer satisfaction, internal customer satisfaction.
Okay.
Adding, I think I want to add to the point which Pradnesh have mentioned, and continuing the tail spend point is, why do we want to have everything in-house? So he talked about Coupa, building up a catalog. I think there are a lot of vendors also in the market who have vendor-based catalog. They have much better platform. So can you also integrate that and find it as an opportunity? And why do we want to have control of all the tail spend? Continuing the same point of Coupa, building up the catalog, you have done the contracts once a year. You are giving your employees, your internal customer opportunity to order themselves. They don't have to follow the route of going through procurement, getting an approval. It's all pre-built into the system, ease out everything. And there are vendors, so talking about vendor catalog, who have this capability. So if you feel not everyone can afford, say, Ariba or Coupa, and there are some classic systems available in the system. But for at least some spend, like stationery could be one, housekeeping consumable, there are good big vendors who are available into the market who can build up and design this catalog for you. Can you integrate that with your system or use it as a standalone system, but build in your 100% stationery requirement, housekeeping consumable requirement, these tail spend requirements into that so that you can bring in efficiency. I think, Ravindra, second big area and which most of us would be using, but we still have challenge to make it efficient is P2P. A lot of times still are, so whatever we have done in P2P, and most of us sitting in this room would have implemented some digitalization around P2P, yet our payment terms are high, yet we have, and payment terms are not just high because company is not rich in cash, they are rich in cash, but yet we lose invoices and some data point, approval, workflow get lost, yet our vendors sometimes complain about not getting payment on time. So the more robust your P2P and the less manual task you're doing and the more visibility of where is invoice lying, what time, what date it has scanned, and whether you're opening this to vendor. Can vendor log in into the portal and see by himself that, okay, my invoice is with Ruchita Mishra and she's sitting on my invoice, not approve it for 5 days, so I can reach out to her. Rather than connecting to the finance or the procurement SPOC and then struggling where my invoice is. So most of the time, at least what I have seen, Ravindra, we don't pay vendor on time because of cash issue, but we are not able to pay vendor of time because of this inefficiency issue. Even though the intent is there, but sometimes because of this efficiency, things are lost. So that's another core area which I feel is right for digitization.
And this particular area of having the intent to pay on time and are not able to pay on time hurts you very badly when these are MSME payments, where you have to make the payment within 45 days. And first, whether it is a transporter or a small scale service provider, the invoice itself comes late, and then you are pushed back against the wall to immediately do it on priority and make the vendor because it's a regulatory requirement. So these are going to be the challenges, and hope that digital tools will help us in overcoming them.
Also, Ravindra, what happens, sorry I spoke in between, is lot of time the delay happens in the first half of the cycle, either in invoice approval or in GRNs or from the vendor side. But what we try to squeeze always is to be after finance team that we need an exceptional approval. And normally the kind of reply we get from our finance that you always comes up with an exceptional approval, but they are at the later stage of clearing this, right? So if they see us as a procurement and supply chain, they are like, there are a lot of issue in their system and they always come up with an exceptional approval. But the problem is in the first half of the area, and they are more on the receiving end as well.
Right. So this was from the supplier side. So my next question to Pallavi is, how does the technology or the use of technology impacts the value proposition for a customer?
I think you touched upon a very broad subject, right? So when it comes to value, I think in one word, digitalization can enable it all. It can enable cost, quality.
Just check it is on.
Hello, can you hear me now? Yeah, so I said the question is very broad. In simple words, digitalization can attack it all, or rather deliver it all, as in cost, quality, delivery, innovation, sustainability, you call it. But then the critical thing is just digitalization does not provide anything. What is important is the work which goes before it, which is the data. Is data in the proper format? Is the process even there? So I'll maybe take a few examples. Right, I'll actually extend the point which
Samarth.
was being discussed. So even we spoke about P2P, which was touching more on the indirect side, right? Let's take the direct side, right? Once you have the SNOP out, still there are no, in a lot of organizations, automated PRs and POs are not there. And that leads to delay in the stuff coming in, challenges in the supply chain. So simple things, right? Is the quota arrangement updated? Is the source list updated? Is the PIR properly updated, or is it all manual, right? So you have the systems today. I'm sure everybody is using SAP or any other system which is there, but it's not being used. Again, it's a matter of process being implemented and aligned, right? Another example, for procurement, going out to market is critical. And going out to market in time, when you see the commodities going down and that's the right time to engage with the suppliers, it's critical to do that piece in a short span of time. Now, what I've seen in my experience, the biggest challenge is to collect the data, collect the technical requirements, collect the volume, go out to market and take a decision. And the reason for that is we do have systems which are supposed to maintain specification. And it should be a simple download. But one, there's lack of alignment of what should go out to the supplier. What are those specifications? Second, items are created, details not entered. So you end up doing it all manually. So there is a delay. So I've seen delays of even a year to collect data to go out to market. By the time the market has gone up, so you have lost the chance, right? So cost, again, digitalization can do it, but you can't use it. One very interesting, another example I'll give is that on the innovation side, especially supplier-led innovation, so typically we say that when you have SRM meetings or supplier meetings, then you should have a forum to maybe explore new ideas. So there are some solutions, and this does not need to integrate or depend on any ERP. It's a platform we have seen as Idea Wake. I'm just taking one example, there are definitely more. So where, as an end customer, you can actually pose an idea, challenge your vendors, and then they can respond back. And it's a very well-tracked process. What did they respond? And then, again, this is has to be well coordinated between the R&D team, between the procurement team. And then you actually work closely with the vendor to deliver that, the innovative product, innovative packaging item, or whatever, to your customer, which is the organization. So, yeah, I think.
Great. So what we have today touched upon is various aspects, right from procurement processes to data management, converting data into information, use the analytics with the shifting from preventive to predictive, not only maintenance, but all of your processes, so on and so forth, with the help of digitization and tools. Now, one open question to all the panelists. In your individual work areas, what are the benefits of digitization? Start.
Okay. So this is a general question. Everybody knows in the room knows that what is the benefit of digitalization. As per the, I will talk about the procurement specifically, which is not touched upon. So everybody knows the cost benefit, what we are doing in automation, digitalization of material codes, all these things which give direct cost benefit. I will touch upon that another pillar. We have 4 pillars in procurement: quality, cost, delivery and management. This management pillar is very important, where we are less in digitalization, which need more focus, because if we select a wrong supplier, then all our cost benefit goes. Then we have to do the redevelopment of supplier, all this risk in supply chain, everything comes into picture. So now we are focusing more on management of supplier, where we are directly tracking the supplier management in terms of financial, in terms of compliance, particularly if you are dealing with your customer is European customer, then we have to make sure that our suppliers are compliant with all the regulations what we require. So this all the digital, all this compliance, everything now we have done in digital, which will help our business in very big way.
Perfect. Just a short answer. Go ahead.
Yeah. So with respect to our industry, like we have done in the both way, like inbound as well as outbound. because we get a lot of material which is in bulk, so safety of those material is very crucial and important. So tracking of all those vehicles right from the loading point to receiving end, and tracking of it, digitalization it, and overall till it reaches to our factory or till the unloading point. So that we have initiated, and even with the outbound activity or logistics, all the empty vehicles which are coming, as far as the compliance part is concerned, like vehicle registration and then all the PUC and other part, because those are mandatory things at our customer end also, because in case those compliance are not there, the material will not get unloaded. So overall that inefficiency part will come into the picture in this, the compliance is not being maintained. So we engage all this technology and some software where we can capture all this data at the receiving end and at the loading point, at the security gate and all those things. And that ultimately help in getting some MIS also at the end of the day, like how we are improving day by day, or what are the challenges or bottlenecks into the system. And then you can closely work with your transporter or your service provider with the data which is available. So those are the kind of immediate targets we have kind of work on, and day by day we are improving on that, so that the more of efficiency can be improved on those factors, logistic part.
Perfect. Pradnesh?
Yeah, so basically I would just give a classic example of a shampoo bottle, which is like 700 ml shampoo bottle, which has a pump in it, kind of stuff. So the production planning has to be, and it has to be through a mainline supply chain plus back-end supply chain and back-to-back-end supply chain. For that reason, I would say that every supplier has its manufacturing capacity. So if you say that I want to sell 100 tons of shampoo this quarter, or I have to launch this particular product, the time which is taken by the raw material procurement, time which is taken by packing material, which includes the pump, the bottle, the sleeve. Then when it moves to the factories, the production time at factories, filling at a time of factories, the logistics cost going to a super mother depots to directly going to your depots. So and then it goes to the retail. So entire life cycle management of supply chain can be tracked through digitization, and that is the biggest benefit.
Okay, just short and sweet.
So Ravindra, very simple in 2 sentences. Digital tools are not magic wand. Garbage in, garbage out, data in, information out. Better data leads to better visibility, better savings, faster decision. Simple.
Perfect. Sachin?
So in my view, digitization is mandatory and should be made mandatory, wherein there is a lack of visibility for the end customers at what stage the requirements are. And second thing, wherein the buyers or procurement team needs to have the visibility, end-to-end visibility, so that they can see what is coming up, what is in pipeline, and then create a pipeline using these tools. It is not that your organization have multiple tools, the market has multiple tools available for digitization, you need to use those tools.
Correct.
You need to select the right tool, simplified way, and adoption of that particular tool has to be to a great extent.
Perfect. Pallavi?
So I think digitalization has to be followed before. First we need to have data and process, otherwise it doesn't yield value. And if you have the right process and data, even Excel, Power BI, and the Microsoft Forms, what is available to all can make magic.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Samarth?
Very quickly, digitization is not equal to loss of job, for sure. That is the concept that we all have. So digitization is quite pivotal and important to give the human capital investment that we have, make them effective and relieve them from fatigue, routine, repetitive tasks. So these are the key benefits of digitization.
Perfect. So thank you all the panelists. I would summarize in a very, I would say, single sentence about this discussion is that from your processes to data management to information, converting data into information, to using analytics, using digitization strategy, the low-hanging fruit would be increasing your productivity by automating all of your clerical documentation to the extent possible. So that's the key. And then use the digitization tools like predictive analysis, vibration analysis in case of production or maintenance. These are the tools where, these are the innovative ways coming up, which will help us taking the organization to a different level. So what we are looking at currently is using all of these digital tools to transform the procurement function into a strategic function rather than a cost center. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, all the panelists.
Thank you.
I open, if the time allows, the question and answer session.
We can take just one quick question, just one. Yes. Yes. Give the mic to sir, please, here in the front. You just have one mic?
Give this one.
You can give your.
It's great.
Thanks for this. In fact, my question is all the panelists, like we are talking about technology, we are talking about analytics, we are talking about improving the efficiency. I just want to take a input that any of you using any predictive analysis and what is the typical efficiency level we get? Because I have not seen anything going beyond 50%.
Okay, I will answer this question. In Apcotex, we have started actually using the vibration analysis on all the motors and pumps, where particularly vibration analysis is more useful on the rotating equipments, and all the pump manufacturers and motor manufacturers will give you certain preventive maintenance activities. You do this after six months or 1 year and so on. But the vibration analysis is three-dimensional sensors are put on that motor, and particularly that vibration sensing is giving you advanced notification, which even manufacturer or looking at the equipment, you can't make out that change. So that helps. So these digital tools are really helping us to have the advanced intimation, and you can actually track down the how the motor is functioning and how long it is going to function without having a breakdown. So this really helps, and we have seen it in our organization.
You want this one?
Check. Okay. All right, so I hope you got your answer, sir. And on that note, it's time for us to thank all our speakers, and special thanks to our moderator, Ravindra sir, for this insightful panel discussion. Now we have a token of thanks that we would like to present to you. I request Ravindra sir, you to present it to all our speakers here, please.
Sure.
Can we have it on stage, please? Royal Enfield 350cc and 5-gram gold coin, which will happen tomorrow. So do not forget to drop in your cards, please. Thanks. Yes, sir.
Okay. So are the names written? So
I would want you all to give a big round of applause
so
as Ravindra sir
Pradnesh,
present
come
the
forward.
token of thanks to our
Pradnesh.
each speaker.
Thank you. Sure.
Thank you, everybody here at the panel, for taking your valuable time out and
Thank you.
share your inputs with us on the subject.
Thanks. Come, Mahendran. Yeah. Ruchita. Here. Great. Sachin. Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Samarth. Here. Thank you.
And Mr. Samarth, as you're already there, I would request you to please present that token of thanks to our moderator, Mr. Ravindra Gadre. Thank you again,
Thank you.
sir.
Thanks.